What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the W.A.D.E Concept Podcast. I wanted to thank you guys all for your support and all the comments I'm getting in the comment section. If you guys like what I'm doing here, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment, express your opinion. That's what we're here for. The podcast is named the W.A.D.E Concept because we are debating everything, and you guys are just as much a part of that as I am. Please make sure you get down there, comment. I'll reply back, I promise. With that being said, today is October 6th, 2020, and this is episode 33 of the W.A.D.E Concept Podcast. Let's go. Woo! Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, how we doing? Like I said, it's October 6th, 2020. I'm here right after Game 4 of the NBA Finals, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but I was sweating that one. I was sweating that. Folks, this thing turned into a series very, very quickly, and it almost turned into a series, as the kids say. Game 4, the Lakers squeak out a W, 102-96 over the Miami Heat. They go up 3-1 in this series. Again, right on schedule for the gentleman's sweep, but this was by no means an easy game, ladies and gentlemen. This was a grind the entire way. A score like 102-96 tells you one of two things. One, teams were struggling to shoot the ball, or two, there was some damn good defense on display. And I think really both of those things could be attributed to this game because both teams wanted it. And we know at this point, both teams are going to want it. Both teams understand how to play each other. They played each other 4 times now in a matter of 2 weeks. They get it. This was a grind. Who wanted it more down the stretch? 50-50 balls, rebounds, steals. Who's going to turn the ball over less, make less mistakes? And tonight it was the Lakers. I got to say, down the stretch, the Lakers came alive after a very shaky first half from their big two. Anthony Davis only having, I think, 7 or 6 points at half. LeBron with only 8 points at the half and 5 turnovers. They struggled out of the gates again. Listen, Erik Spoelstra knows LeBron James very, very well, guys. He was there in 4 years. He was there in Miami. Won 2 championships. He knows how to play LeBron James because he had to scheme for other teams to make LeBron James better. And I think the sole factor in how the Heat have defended the Lakers, if you go back and watch games 1 and 2, especially game 1, the Heat tried to defend the Lakers with the zone, right? And the Lakers blew it apart. They had LeBron in the middle. He would catch the ball high post. Look, where's the open man? Or I'm going to take this myself. And then they would do it with AD, have LeBron slashing to the lane, busting up the entire zone, and they were hitting wide open shots. Well, Spoelstra has gone to a man-to-man, been able to trap AD in the low post, kind of mid-range on the low post, and trapping him there. And he's not used to getting rid of the ball there. AD turns over the ball most of the time when they come to trap from his weak side. He doesn't see it, turns into it, falls, loses the ball, throws it away. They've gotten him a couple times there. They made LeBron uncomfortable again, handling the ball on the low post. They found ways to trap him, get the ball out of his hands, and make other people beat them. That's really the simple way to give AD and LeBron problems. But tonight it wasn't enough as AD found his stretch found his rhythm, I should say, down the stretch in the fourth quarter. LeBron turned it on in the second half. There was a point in the game where I said to myself, and I think I said this on Twitter, LeBron James has to close the door, has to slam the door on this Heat team, leave no doubt, because they were hanging around, and finally, down the stretch in that fourth quarter, LeBron hits 2 big threes, gets an and one, left-hand drive to the lane, puts it in, and knocks down some big free throws to seal the game. But I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this whole thing, so let's get into it. Like I said, the first half, a lot of struggles from both teams. Shooting the ball, I think that was, again, mostly due to just great defense. Tonight, only 44% and 42% respectively from the field. Both teams shooting under 40% from 3, up 35% from 3. Pretty even on the foul shots. I think the Heat took 5 more. The rebounds, again, virtually identical. The Heat have diminished that rebound margin game after game, and it's keeping them in games, to be honest. But when it counted, the Lakers had big offensive boards, right? Had big plays from guys like Rajon Rondo, again, finding open men, being opportunistic on the offensive boards, Caruso as well. And then LeBron doing what he does with 28, 12, and 8. Jimmy Butler didn't have the game he had in Game 3, the spectacular performance. He still had a great game, but there were times in this game, again, he played 43 minutes. There were times in this game where he looked a little hesitant on the offensive end. He looked more like he wanted to get his teammates involved. Tyler Hero stepped up big tonight with 21 and 7. He struggled for most of the game and then stepped up late. It just wasn't enough without that superhuman performance that we talked about here on episode 32 that he had to have. In Game 3, Jimmy Butler put on the cape and put everybody on his back and flew the team to safety. Today, he just could not do that. And the Lakers, to be fair, the Lakers were doing a great job on him. They put size on him. The problem Jimmy Butler was giving the Lakers is in the low post, he was bodying people. It was barbecue chicken to put a guy like Alex Caruso, KCP, someone like that on Jimmy Butler in the post, and that's GG. You might as well inbound the ball before he even shoots it because that's going in. He is punishing those guys in the low post. Well, the Lakers today, LeBron took the job for the majority of the game and did well on Jimmy Butler. And then you would see AD in spells. You would see Markieff Morris. You would see Kyle Kuzma. They were throwing big bodies at this guy. And it was working. For the most part, it was working. It was making him hesitant. He was having to shoot over longer defenders. He wasn't in rhythm like he was in Game 3. And speaking of KCP, man, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Who would have thought? This man gives you 15 on the night, hits a huge three in the corner, I think it was the right corner, right in front of the Heat bench to keep that lead for the Lakers because this was a back-and-forth game late into the fourth quarter. I think that put him up 5, and then he comes down the next possession, a right-hand layup, puts him up 7. A beautiful game here. He had 10 in the first half, big buckets down the stretch for KCP. That was a huge performance. Obviously, like we talked about, Rondo coming in, getting 7 rebounds, 5 assists off the bench. Kuzma adds 9, and LeBron down the stretch took that game over from the free throw line and just doing what he needed to do, making good decisions. The fadeaway jumper on the baseline against Jimmy Butler, and then the big seal, the dagger in the game. Rondo off the high pick and roll. This game, again, a close game. I think it was a 6-point game at this point. If AD misses this shot, and the shot clock's running down, if Anthony Davis misses this 3 he's about to take, the Heat have the ball only down 6 after making a 3 on their own end. This could be very well one of these games that goes down to the wire. Rondo off the high pick and roll, almost an outlet kind of bailout pass to Anthony Davis, top of the key, and he drains it. LeBron was not involved with this play. There was twice they ran plays where LeBron was in the corner, high pick and roll action with Anthony Davis and Rajon Rondo. The first one, Rondo lays it up off the glass because everyone thinks, okay, he's going to pass the ball. We're not going to defend him to the rack. And Rondo's like, cool. This is free real estate. I'm on my way, and laid it up. Easy money, right? Well, the second time down, they do hedge off a little bit. 80's wide open, top of the key, bang-a-lang. That's how we do it. Shout out Oolong, by the way, bang-a-lang. That's my Twitch chat. By the way, twitch.tv/WPLIM. Come have a good time with me. Anyway, this is a tough game, man. This was definitely a championship-level game. Grinded out defensively. Who wants it more? Who's going to make the bigger plays in the bigger moments? Because the Heat, they had less turnovers tonight. They got close in the rebounding department. They basically did everything they needed to do to win except in the key moments. The 3 by AD. Tough shot in the corner by KCP. LeBron with 2 threes and an and 1. 11 points in the fourth quarter. The big moments, the superstars that have been here before, like LeBron, and the ones that are learning how to be here, like Anthony Davis, came alive. And those 2 monsters, if you can keep them asleep, do not wake the beasts, because once they are awake, it's over. And that's what happened tonight, man. I think the Lakers close it out Friday. They got 2 days rest, meaning AD and LeBron are going to get some time off their feet, going to come back fresh, and I think they close it out in style, double-digit win. And they go on to win the NBA Finals. Again, predictions here. I do think the Lakers win Game 5. But, as always, we'll see. And we'll be right here to cover it. All right, so let's talk about college football. Thank God for college football. And everything, obviously, being done safely and right is what I'm talking about here. But there's just something different about college football. Like, yes, I'm a big fan of pro football. I'm a big fan of the NBA. But the passion, the tradition, the history, the prominence of different programs, kids coming together under one goal to bring back, in the case of my Tennessee Volunteers, a storied program, the fans behind it, the passion that we have being from that place. There's just nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And we're in week 3 for the SEC. Week 6 overall, my Tennessee Vols are 2-0. We're going to get to them in just a second, but let's talk some college football picks. Week 6, let's take a look. So we're going to stick with the SEC again mostly. We do have some interesting games outside of the SEC. The Red River rivalry is back. I said it right. I didn't stutter. Take that, comments section. It's back. Oklahoma, again, flat out stumbling out of the gates. They are a complete mess right now, taking on Texas, who can't stop anybody. So this game is probably still going to be interesting and competitive, and they'll score 70+. I think that Texas gets the job done by a late touchdown. I think Spencer Rattler comes back and shows he's got, again, what we talked about, great arm strength. But again, late in the game, I think Texas and their team is just better, I think, offensively. They're more consistent. I think they get it done with a late game touchdown. Rattler has a better game, probably still makes a mistake or two because it's a big game, and we haven't seen him play well and down the stretch in any game yet other than the opening week. So I would say that Texas wins this by a late touchdown or field goal. All right, so let's get to SEC football predictions for this week. Week 6, week 3 in the SEC. I know it's going to be one of those things all year that we have to kind of go back and forth on. We have Missouri at number 17, LSU. Missouri coming off the loss against my Tennessee Volunteers. They just they couldn't get going offensively. Defensively, they struggled against the Tennessee run. I mean, we ran all over them. Eric Gray, Ty Chandler, it was downhill the entire time, and the snowball effect started to happen more and more as the game went on. We went for 250+ on the ground. Even in the air, we didn't have the most success, but we were in the air enough to keep it honest. I think LSU does a lot of the same here. I think, Emory Jr.? I think he runs all over this Missouri defense, and Missouri's too inconsistent on offense to keep up. I'd say LSU semi-big. I would say they go at least 2 touchdowns. I think it's a 2-touchdown victory for LSU at home versus Missouri. Missouri's just getting a rough go of it to start the year, and this is going to be rebuild time for the Tigers. And LSU looked very good against Vanderbilt, but bounced back in a big way. Offense put up 47 or 49, and they showed they can score the ball consistently. I think that happens again here. I think they run the ball all over Missouri, then it opens up the pass game, and it's just not. It's one-way traffic. I think it's at least 2-touchdown victory. Then we have Arkansas at Auburn, and listen, this is not going to be a very easy game, but I do think that Auburn comes off I don't want to say embarrassing, but a whipping at the hands of that Georgia defense, and obviously the Georgia offense got going in that game too. I think that was a flat-out whipping. I don't think anybody predicted that game to be as big of a margin as it ended up being. Auburn could not move the football. That front four for Georgia is scary, and we'll talk about them in a second. But I think, obviously Arkansas gets their first win in the SEC in 3 years last week. Coming off that high, sometimes you can't have a letdown, but sometimes that can propel you to do it again. And I think they go into Auburn with that mindset that they do belong. That in the SEC West, it's up for grabs by everybody not named Alabama. And so if you can slide into that second spot, you could, and possibly things go right, you could find yourself playing Alabama for a shot at the SEC West. So Auburn is definitely on upset alert here. Arkansas, again, coming up big in the last week's win against Mississippi State after everybody thought, and myself included, that Mississippi State was for real, and they still could be. Again, this is a weird season in 2020. You can't get on Costello too much because he dotted up LSU's defense and then fell off the map against Arkansas. We'll see. Arkansas still has shown a struggle to move the ball offensively. Defensively, they played great against Mississippi State, but offensively, they can't. They're so inconsistent on the sticks. They can't score the ball that much. That could be their downfall in this game. I still will pick Auburn. I think Auburn gets it done with like a 24 or, I'd say 27-17 victory. But do not be surprised if this is a close game late in that ball game. I'll still go Auburn 27-17. Arkansas puts up a good fight on defense, but inevitably their offense cannot move the ball enough to keep them in this game, and they go down in a close game at Auburn. Next up, we have number 4 Florida traveling to Texas A&M. The Aggies playing host to the Gators, and folks, Texas A&M coming off a rough loss to Alabama. Started off well, but Alabama did what they do to people, man. The defense turned it up a notch in that second half, and they ran away with that game 52-24. They gave up a massive amount of yardage through the air, somewhere close to 500. And if we know anything about the team that's coming to town, Florida, will throw the ball all over the place. Kyle Trask has been locked in and on point since the year started. He's got somewhere close to 700 yards through the air. That tight end Pitts is a problem, has 6 touchdowns through 2 games. It's a recipe for disaster for A&M as much as they give up through the air. They gave up 400 plus to Alabama. Florida's probably going to do the same. Florida defensively, obviously they have their weaknesses through the air as well. Haven't shored up that secondary, so this could be another shootout back and forth. Unfortunately, Florida wins those. Florida wins those because their defense is good enough to give them 2 or 3 stops, whereas Texas A&M, the floodgates might as well open up because they haven't stopped, again, anybody not named Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt stops themselves. Vanderbilt has trouble even getting the bus started to come to the game. They stop themselves, so you can't count that on your defensive resume. Alabama, different story. I think Florida is the same story that they read against Alabama. Unfortunately, they can't change the ending. That's Florida, and I'm saying 2 touchdowns. They go into A&M and win this one. 2 touchdowns. Again, it's going to be a shootout. I'll say Florida 40-plus to A&M's 30. I think A&M puts points up. They just can't handle that onslaught from the Florida offense. All right, then we have number 2, Alabama, going to Ole Miss, where they've had some trouble. They have had some trouble in this stadium. Nick Saban is coaching against one of his former assistants, Lane Kiffin, folks, and this is going to be a fun one. We know Ole Miss can put up points in bunches. They did it to Florida. They got close, but just could not get enough stops against that Florida offense. Ole Miss is in some trouble here because they haven't seen a defense like Alabama, and they won't see another one like it. And the fact that Alabama's offense is clicking on all cylinders. They went for 550 yards and 52 points on A&M. I think they do the same damn thing to Ole Miss's defense, and they could go 50-plus in this game. Again, Ole Miss will score the ball, but defensively they will not be able to hold up. I'm going to say Alabama wins this one big, too. I think people are surprised at how good Alabama's offense is going to look here and how consistently they're going to look good. Like, a lot of teams aren't going to give Alabama trouble on the offensive side because they got a stable of running backs. Mac Jones is playing very well through the air. He's not making a lot of mistakes at all. So I'm thinking Ole Miss goes down by, I would say 2 touchdowns plus, maybe 17, 21 points. Could be 3 touchdowns. I'm going to say Alabama big. Big. Capital letters, big. Alabama. Then we have Mississippi State at Kentucky. This one's interesting, man. This one's interesting. Can KJ Costello get back on track? Can they find a way to implement this air raid offense and keep that Kentucky defense on the field, who just had a tough game with the Ole Miss offense? And again, Kentucky was just in a huge game with Ole Miss, and it had its highs and lows. They went up in overtime. They missed the extra point, and they lose because of the missed extra point. Ole Miss scores, kicks theirs. They lose by 1 in a back-and-forth shootout. That Kentucky team is no joke here, folks. But we still don't know how consistent Mississippi State is going to be on the offensive end. Defensively, Kentucky, can they give them some problems? Can they keep them off the field with their offense, run the football downhill on Mississippi State? This is a toss-up. This is a toss-up. Just judging off how I've seen Mississippi State play, it's so hard to find out what they can bring to the table here. Will it be the Mississippi State in week 1 that torched LSU's defense, or will Kentucky find a way to limit the snaps and the ability for Costello to get going and find a way to get this game, get a W here? I'm going to go Mississippi State. I'm going to go Mississippi State on the road, close. Very, very close here. I'm going to say they win by, again, 3 points to a touchdown late. I think they get the ball last, and that's why they win. I think Kentucky stops them for the most part, but Mississippi State breaks through late in that game. I'll say 31-27, Mississippi State. And next we have South Carolina and Vanderbilt. And my God, can we end the season for these two already? I mean, South Carolina cannot. This is the first break they're going to catch. Vanderbilt doesn't even look like a collegiate football team at this point. They don't even look like a team that could be on the field for a consistent period of time and beat anybody in the SEC. They gave A&M some trouble early in that game, but they never looked to threaten anything on offense. Their offense, again, they have trouble getting the bus started, let alone getting the offense started. I think South Carolina wins here. I don't consider this to be a consequential game at any point. Both these teams are done for the season pretty much already, unless catastrophe happens in the SEC East. And South Carolina's offense is better than Vanderbilt's defense, in my opinion. They move the ball decent on Tennessee, moved it decent in the first half on Florida. I think they get this win here on the road. I think they win by 10 plus. I'll go South Carolina 31, Vanderbilt 21. Vanderbilt moves the ball a little bit better on the South Carolina defense, who has shown they can't really stop anyone either. 31-21, South Carolina. And finally, I know I have my UCI shirt on. This is only repping the local colleges here. I'm a Tennessee fan at heart. You guys know this. Ball Nation, stand up. Go Big Orange. We have a massive game on our hands this week, folks. This very well could determine who's in the quote-unquote driver's seat so far, because both these teams still have to play Florida, and Florida's looking damn good. But this could very well be the determinant of who's in the driver's seat in the SEC East already right here in Week 3. We're talking about Tennessee at Georgia. Between the hedges, folks, the Vols and the Bulldogs, one of the oldest rivalries here in the last couple of years. Hasn't been as competitive as we'd like, but this is a different Tennessee football team. And to be fair, this Georgia team is very, very good still defensively. But here's what I think. Tennessee running the ball far better with Cade Mays, Trey Smith, Cooper Mays, that offensive line up front. This is the best offensive line that Georgia's seen this year coming in this week. Tennessee is going to try to establish the run game, and they're going to do it early and often. I know that Jarrett Garantano, has his struggles, especially in big games. He has some struggles with decision-making. You don't have to have that this week. You do not have to have it. You can have him be an Alex Smith-like, Casey Clausen-like player here. I don't know, those were the weirdest two quarterback comparisons. Not quite a game manager. Yes, he'll have to make some plays, but he doesn't have to win you the game by himself. That running game will win Tennessee the football game if they can get that 4 to 5 yards a carry and just hold on to that football, move the chains, tire that defense of Georgia out, and find ways to make this game ugly. Make this a down and dirty hog fight in the trenches. I want to see meat on meat on meat. Front 4 versus front 5, and just go at it. That's what we have to have. For Tennessee to win this football game, they have to establish the run game early, and they have to establish it the entire way through. If not, Tennessee will be in some trouble. You cannot put this Tennessee offense in 3rd and long consistently, as we saw against a South Carolina defense where Tennessee was 1 for 12, and then be successful. It has to be a 3rd and short situation. Coach Pruitt is going to have to gamble a little bit with some big plays here and there. He's going to have to let JG throw the ball down the field to keep this Georgia defense honest. You can't run the ball 1, 2, and 3 every single stick down the field. You're going to have to keep them honest. He's going to have to make some plays, as I said. But on the offensive side, Tennessee has to run the football. They very well can do that. We've seen that. This Georgia front 4, they're scary. They're tough. It's not going to be easy. This is why we play the game. Someone cue this is why we play the game. It is. This is exactly why we do it, because we got some nasty hog mollies on the front 5 on our offensive line. They got some nasty dudes on their defensive line. It's going to be an absolute clash. We're going to see what happens. Now, Tennessee's 2-back system will prove to be a benefit for them, because, again, if we're running the ball that much, if we get, 35-plus carries on the ground in this game, you're going to need both those guys. Eric Gray, again, super shifty, nice scat back, but also has the strength to take on some of those defenders. Ty Chandler, one cut, put the pads on you and take you with you for another 2 or 3 yards. He's doing that. So we'll see. We'll see. Now, with the running, if the running game, like I said, if it's doing what it should, where it's at 4 to 5 yards, 3 to 4 yards even a carry, JG has to be consistent. Jarrett Garantano has to be consistent here. That means not throwing the ball high on short routes underneath. That means making good decisions in the 3rd and manageable. And in the red zone. If it's not there, we can't force something there. We can't try to win the game in the first quarter or win the game on 3rd and 6 from the 25. You take that field goal, you move on to the next drive. Now, on the defensive side, Tennessee has to find ways to stop the pass in the secondary. We have to. I think that we can handle the run up front. But if Georgia comes out and dots us up left and right and converts 3rd downs that they should not, because our defense in the secondary is not as consistent as we like them to be, that's going to be a problem. We can't allow our defense to be hung out on the field and Georgia wearing on us with their run game. The strategies here are pretty simple for both teams. Run the football, pass when you have to, pass to open up the run. they're going to play the same way. This is, again, going to be an ugly, down and dirty football game that whoever makes the most explosive plays through the passing game, when given the opportunity, will probably come out and win this football game. But this is going to be a close game. This is going to be a very close game. People are saying because of Georgia's massive defense in the years past, Georgia's going to walk through Tennessee. That's not happening. In fact, I know I'm a homer, whatever. You can tell me after the game when Tennessee wins this. Tennessee's winning this football game, folks. Tennessee's winning this football game close. They're winning it late. And again, I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. I think there's going to be a lot of time of possession. I think Tennessee wins, and I think they win 28-24. 28-24. And again, I think it's because Tennessee is going to make the plays. Jarrett Garantano, is going to make some plays as a senior in this offense, as a leader in this offense, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7. He's not only going to make those plays, he's going to get a couple of big ones down the field. Our running game, we're going to rush, I think, 35-plus times. It has to be successful, and Tennessee's defense is going to get one takeaway, possibly two, that turns the tide in this game. I think that's how it's going to go. I hope that's how it's going to go. We can't discount the Georgia Bulldogs. They're a very good football team on the ground. They showed a lot more competence on the ground last week with 2 touchdowns on the ground, 2 running back system of their own. Their defense is terrifying. They are very good. This is a massive test for Tennessee's offensive line, who we've talked about being one of the better ones we've had in a long time. We'll see. Again, my pick, the Tennessee Volunteers, go between the hedges in Georgia and come out the victors, 28-24. Go Vols. All right. That being said, that was the most fired up I've been on a podcast. I'm sorry, guys. I'm excited for my Tennessee Vols. Number 14 in the country, going into number 3, between the hedges. This is a huge game, all right? I'm allowed to be excited, okay, comments? I'm allowed. But now we move into something way more personal, and if you can believe that, than the Tennessee Volunteers to myself. This is a segue that I don't even know if it works, but we're going to use it. I don't know how you describe what's going on in the MMA sphere this week. Let's just say it's been very personal. And what I mean by that has nothing to do with the Holly Holm fight, which we should still be talking about, or the fights coming up, Khabib, Justin Gaethje, which we will talk about. I'm talking about Jon Jones and Israel Adesanya, 2 guys that have been chirping in each other's ears for, I think, almost a year now. And we've been talking about, is this fight ever going to happen? Can this fight even happen? Where does it happen? Well, we can push all that stuff. Where does it happen? How, when, what? We can push all that aside. We need this fight to happen, MMA community. We need this. And I'll tell you why. These two have a deep, I don't want to say hatred, but a deep disdain for each other at this point. They have both been on Twitter going back and forth, and it has gotten very personal very quick. And listen, some people are calling Israel Adesanya Internet Izzy. Shout out to Daniel Cormier for coining that term. It's funny. That's really good. Back and forth on Twitter, they've gone Israel Adesanya talking about how, and again, this is something I really don't care to see about Jon Jones' mom and how disappointed she would be. Obviously, Jon Jones' mom is unfortunately no longer with us. So again, I don't know if that was necessary, but Jon, in his own right, he's gotten personal with people before too. So it's none of it's necessary. We don't need to do the family, the religion, the race, any of that stuff. We don't need to bring that into fighting. But it has gotten very personal between these two. And at this point, why can't we have this fight? In fact, this is the fight. This is the fight. Conor, Dustin Poirier, which we've kind of talked about and floated around. I'd like to see that fight. Conor and anybody, I'd like to see that fight. I mean, come on. Proper 12. You guys know I'm a big Conor fan, but this fight is the fight to make right now. It's never been hotter than this. This is going on as we speak. The last couple of days, it's been Jon Jones and Israel Adesanya going back and forth, talking about how Jon, I've never been knocked out. This is how somebody left you laying, and if not for the referee, you could have died that night. And talking about Israel Adesanya's kickboxing days. Izzy talking about Jon always being on cocaine and getting arrested, and obviously the car accident with the pregnant lady. He's gone after Jon here, and Jon is responding to every single thing. Kelsey has just come into the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. He's responded to every single thing. And I don't really know what else to say, but let these two fight. Let them fight. It's the biggest fight we can make right now. Jon's not doing anything. Israel Adesanya, yeah, he's waiting for, and we have some big fights at 85. Jared Cannonier, possibly another rematch with Robert Whittaker, possibly a match with Darren Till, Jack Hermanson. But none of those fights sell like Jon Jones. And again, Jon's not doing anything. There's no title to be held up here. I don't know how the UFC is going to feel about possibly doing a catch weight, but we can do it at 205. And yes, Jon would have to cut to get to 205, but he's done that for 10 years, 10 plus years. And Izzy, I'm sure, would be down to fight him at 205. But this is the only thing that can happen. You can't say the things they are saying about each other, and as personally as they're doing it. Again, Izzy bringing Jon's mom in, Jon talking about Izzy's dad and his coaches and the way Izzy's been knocked out and all these things. You can't have this and not let them find a way to finish this. They have to have a way to settle this, and that is a fight. And to put more fire on those flames, Dana White wants this fight. And when the boss man wants it, the boss man finds a way to make it happen. It seems like Jon wants it. It seems like Dana wants it. It seems like Israel wants it at a certain time. And I think that's because Israel understands that he's not going to be told when or how to fight Jon Jones. He wants to do it on his terms. This is a machismo move, a macho bravado move. I want to do it on my time when I want to. Jon Jones, just because he's Jon Jones, doesn't get to bring me up whenever he wants, and we're just going to go fight because he wants to. We'll do it on my terms. It's a who's going to big brother who here. That's what this is. But regardless, you strip all that away. The fight itself is pretty damn interesting, guys. Now, we're not going to do a full breakdown here, but for people acting like Jon Jones is just going to walk through Israel Adesanya because he's bigger and because he knows how to wrestle, far more, obviously, than Israel does, and he's one of the greatest of all time. In my opinion, he is the greatest of all time. But Israel Adesanya is a special, special striker. And he's dealt with bigger men, and he's dealt with takedowns from high-level wrestlers before. I'm not saying that Israel can or will win this fight handily. What I am saying is that he can or will win this fight. Same with Jon Jones. He can or will win this fight. Either guy can, but to act like it's just a runaway contest for Jon Jones or Izzy is disingenuous. If you're just telling me that Israel Adesanya is going to walk in and knock Jon Jones out and that's going to be it, I can't give you I can't really give your opinion too much credit. And vice versa, if you say that Jon Jones is going to walk in, double leg Izzy, hold him there and beat him up the entire fight, again, I can't give any credence to what you got to say because this is way more complicated than what you're saying. The fact that Izzy has done this to high-level strikers, Yoel Romero didn't even bother with trying to shoot on Izzy. You're telling me Yoel Romero can't wrestle? Kelvin Gastelum, he took Izzy down and almost got triangled. Izzy popped back to his feet and pieced him up and won that fight. Jon Jones offensively hasn't looked the same. He hasn't looked as aggressive to go in and really mix it up with guys. And you're telling me that Jon Jones wants to stand for 5 rounds with a guy like Israel Adesanya, who is a sniper, and take those shots? I think Izzy could hurt Jon standing there. I know Jon's got a legendary chin, and Jon hasn't really been hit clean in a while. You look at some of these fights he's had, especially the Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos fight. He got hit, but he didn't get hit clean, at least not that much. He's a great stand-up defensive artist, but that's what makes this fight even more interesting. Jon's fight IQ and defense versus Izzy's ability to make adjustments on the offensive side and utilize his range, a guy that might just be as long as Jon Jones, where Jon doesn't have that reach advantage, and Jon understands how to use his as well. The chess match there is insane, and we'll save that detailed breakdown for another time. I just thought it was something we had to talk about tonight. How do we not talk about these two guys? I mean, they're out for blood. Literally, Jon said, I want to rip this guy's neck off or rip his head off or something. And Israel's talking about how he's going to knock him out. He's going to make sure that his parents know how disappointed they are in him. I mean, this is listen, I'm not a big fan of it involving family and stuff like that, but you can't deny that this is money. And this is white hot. Dana White, he knows it. Jon knows it. I think Izzy knows it, and he's playing a little hard to get, but this is the fight. And, folks, this is a perfect time for this to happen because Cody Garbrandt, unfortunately, is out of his fight November 21st, and now December 12th doesn't have a main event. We have spots open. Jon Jones, Israel Adesanya, the time is now. Make the fight. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, man. I really don't. We just talked about two of the greatest fighters on the planet right now, possibly fighting. Like, it's a dream match. It's a dream come true for fight fans, for Israel Adesanya and Jon Jones to be fighting. And I almost feel like I'm disrespecting you guys for going from that story to what we're about to talk about. But we have to talk about it. We have to. We've subjected ourselves to this world of YouTube boxing, and I think you know where we're going because of what we talked about on the last podcast. We're talking about Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia. What in the hell is going on? Actually, I need to know. If anybody can tell me, I need to know what is happening. At the start of this week, we talked about Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, rumored to be having a boxing exhibition match. I said it would be the death of boxing. I still believe that. There's nothing to gain for Floyd there. There's nothing to gain for the sport of boxing there. Everything to gain for Logan Paul. You step between the ropes with a guy like Floyd Mayweather, instantly, not only money, attention, fame, life goals, everything, branding goes through the roof for that guy. You know why? Because he's not a professional boxer. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses. Logan could get KO'd stiff, and everybody would be like, see, I told you. And then he would go make vlogs for the rest of the year, and he'd be just fine. He'd make a nice payday. He'd do whatever the hell he does on his ranch with all his dudes that live with him. And I'm not going to comment on the 35 and 45-year-olds that live with him and do all his yes men talking, but he would be just fine. He would be fine. Now, if he walks in there, God knows this, I mean, it would happen because it's 2020, lands a massive right hand on Floyd Mayweather. He spins to the ground, falls. Logan Paul is now the best boxer on the planet. That's what you've done. That's what you've done. And this is the same thing. Apparently, Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia, who is one of the best boxers in the world, are in a beef, I guess. I don't know how to describe this. I don't know what this is. Ryan Garcia is one of the best boxers on the planet. He's undefeated. He's ranked the 5th best active lightweight in the world. He's a silver lightweight title holder for the WBC, 135-pound monster in the boxing ring. This guy, when he hits you, you fall. He has knockout power. He's got the look. He's a superstar in the making. So Ryan Garcia has befriended Jake Paul, the problem child himself, the man with many monikers. He's a YouTuber. He's a boxer. He's a rapper when he puts in a grill and changes his accent a little bit. He calls himself the problem child. I think he's 24 or 25. I don't know. And Jake Paul, yeah, he does have some problems. He's got the problem of being one of the most cringy and intolerable human beings. I get it. It's his shtick. I understand it. He's a great marketer of himself. Except for calling yourself the problem child at like 24. That sounds a lot like father issues and some weird stuff that he's trying to work out internally. You probably need some medical help. And I think Ryan Garcia would probably help you out with that because he's going to knock you fucking out cold. What are we talking about? This doesn't make any sense. Again, boxing, your sport will die if you continue to entertain this thing. And it's funny because I say the word entertain because you are no longer a sport if you allow this to happen. The two Paul brothers come in. Yes, the YouTube boxing scene is fine for what it is. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed people that aren't professionals taking up a new skill and testing themselves in competition. But we're removing competition when we do this. Does everybody understand that? Boxing is no longer a sport if you do this. You can say goodbye to competition. You can say goodbye to actual sport because if Jake Paul, the problem child, steps into the ring with Ryan Garcia and competitors 2 through 25 can't even get a matchup with this guy, you might as well just say, fuck the whole thing. We're entertainment now. We're basically WWE. You want a title shot? How many followers you got on Instagram? Come and get it. That's what you're saying. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think this is going to happen. There was some videos of Jake Paul and Ryan Garcia. Ryan pulls up to the Paul Lego castle and decides he's going to give Jake a contract and like puts it on his chest. He's like, yeah, accept the fight. I mean, could this be more scripted? Could this be more scripted? This is just ridiculous to have. It doesn't make any sense. Ryan Garcia would be the laughingstock of boxing. Kind of like his manager, Oscar De La Hoya, is at the moment. This doesn't make any sense. There's no way that this can happen. De La Hoya, do something right for once in your talent management career And please don't let this guy anywhere near Jake Paul ever again. I know what he's doing. Ryan Garcia thinks that associating himself with this Jake Paul guy is going to help him brand better, is going to help him create more following for himself. And he might be right in certain instances, but this isn't it. This is not it. You have killers, real killers. Gervonta Davis, and I know Garcia's been calling out Gervonta Davis. Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez. These guys are killers. Vasily Lomachenko. These are real boxers, and this really could bring the sport back. This really could create buzz that we haven't seen in boxing in I don't know how long. That's where Ryan Garcia's focus needs to be. He's so young. He says, listen, I'm coming for the best in the world. No one stands between me. I don't care if it's promoter, scheduling dates. I don't need the rest and the time to build up to it. This is my time. But instead, we got this guy talking about sign the contract, Jake Paul, we'll fight. Is this celebrity deathmatch? It doesn't make any sense. 2020 has made everyone lose their minds. I said this once and I will say it again. I don't care how many followers. I don't care how many views. I don't care how much entertainment people think they want out of this. It will destroy the sport of boxing. The Paul brothers will kill boxing in 2020. Don't let this happen. Golden boy, it's on you, man. Okay, that is the podcast for today, man. A lot of topics to get to, a lot of things to talk about. These will go out as soon as I can get them to you guys, so be looking out for that. Again, if you're new here to the podcast, make sure you like and subscribe here at the W.A.D.E Concept. We're talking about everything now. We're talking about YouTube boxing, NBA Finals, MMA beef, Jon Jones, Israel Adesanya, Ryan Garcia, and Jake Paul for the life of boxing in 2020. Obviously college football as well, something I'm super excited about for this weekend. We're talking about it all. This is the W.A.D.E Concept. We are debating everything. You already know what it is. Hit that notify bell because I put these videos out like that. You understand? I make it rain. Kelsey's going to kill me. I make it rain in the club with these videos. You understand? So make sure you like and subscribe here. I will see you guys soon, probably this weekend, as the Lakers take on the Heat for Game 5 Friday, and then my Vols play Saturday, SEC football. We'll be back this weekend. I will see you guys then. Until then, like I said, this is the W.A.D.E Concept, and we are debating everything. Episode 33, we are out. I will see you guys next time.